I met Emily the first week that we came to K, but we hit it off immediately, she and I did. And I found out that we were more alike as we became better friends, that we were both pretty wacky, pretty silly people. And from then on out, we found some really great friends at K. And pretty quickly, we became a family.
She was vivacious and she was loving. She made everyone laugh no matter what she was doing. I mean, studying, walking, sitting, it was fun.
The best way to describe Emily is she always wanted to be on stage. She always wanted to make people laugh. When she walked into a room, the room lit up and everybody wanted to be around her. She used to think that she was going to be on Saturday Night Live one day. And we told her, it's okay, but you have to have a plan B. So that was the psychology part of it. But you know, she probably would have made it to Saturday Night Live. We probably would have seen her on that someday.
I didn't know Emily incredibly well. I had a class with her winter quarter. Class was psychology of sexuality, talking about like the concept of sexuality and sex. So it's like, it can be an uncomfortable topic, but like, I just remember Emily would be so like vocal and like so expressive. Like she was always so like enthusiastic in that class. I really think she like helped set the tone for the entire class in making it a more comfortable environment. Answered every question, was always volunteering and telling stories, and was really funny, really funny.
So I first met Emily in my adolescent class. Usually about 4 or 5 students in every class stand out, but she absolutely was one of the top 2. She sort of would always be the one raising her hand, always having something to share, which was amazing because some students, you know, don't necessarily feel that sense of comfort, and it seemed like she never hesitated to feel that way or feel comfortable. And the things that she had to say were always so, even if not directly relevant, so amazing and funny and interesting and lovable. And so that immediately, even in the first couple weeks of class, when you're still getting to know each of the other students, definitely made her stand out to me.
Emily was always our most sensitive child. She was compassionate and sensitive and caring, and not only with respect to how she dealt with us, but how she dealt with others. When Emily was little, she volunteered in elementary school to help out in the room with the special needs kids. And Emily would just go in there, and a lot of other kids couldn't handle it because it was difficult. It was a difficult chore to deal with some of them, but Emily she would do it. She would go in there, and they loved her, and she loved being in there and helping. She loved just being compassionate and caring.
She was also that way about being a friend, that she was really persistent and conscious of the way that she was acting in all of her relationships between people. And she was always asking, am I being a good friend right now? Is that okay if I like don't go with you to the library? And you'd be like, of course. But she was always checking because she wanted to make sure that everyone around her was comfortable and happy.
She just had a way of connecting all of us because we're all very different. She was kind of like our glue. She got along with everyone well. She kind of understood where everyone was coming from and just made everyone have fun together all the time, no matter what we were doing.
The other context that I knew her in outside of class was that she was involved in theater, and I was also. So at the beginning of the quarter, we had like the stage managers of all the shows had like a big like get-together party for everyone doing something in theater in the winter. So that's like kind of was my first introduction to her, and like I remember she started doing impressions of all these different people and different singers, and she did like this Amy Winehouse impression, and I was like, it was really good too, like it was so funny, and I just like everyone just like slowly like started gravitating into that one room that she was in when she was doing these impressions, because they were really good. They were really good, and it was really funny. But like it seemed like she had that kind of personality, that like people wanted to be around her, and I just remember I was thinking like, you know, I want to get to know her better and spend more time, just because she seemed really great and like a good person, like, you know, a good person that you'd want, the kind of person you'd want to surround yourself with.
I remember these random things about her. So I remember she had this pack of colored markers or pencils that she would bring out. So I guess whenever she would take notes, she had this whole, like, literally like 12 different colors that she would pull out, a bunch of Post-it notes and things like that. So just when she came into the room, it felt like, gosh, it sounds corny, but it's almost like the markers almost represented her. So it felt like she was just sort of this, like, full spectrum of color and energy, the way that you would feel when you, I don't know if you've ever, like, you know, been a kid and pulled out your crayons and your markers and you feel so excited by all that's there. That's exactly the energy that she brought to every single class, and that it's just so, I've never met anyone who did that so quickly.
I talked to Emily on a Thursday night, January 31st, and I talked to her in the evening about 10 o'clock, and she said she didn't feel good. She said she had a headache and she just didn't feel so good all day. She was going to go to bed early. And I said, okay, go to bed and I'll talk to you in the morning. I hope you feel better.
Then around 2 in the morning, Friday morning, she went to the hospital with a headache.
And it progressed quickly, and it was finally diagnosed that she had bacterial meningitis. Her brain just kept swelling and swelling, and nothing they did could get the swelling down. They called me at 8:15, and I left immediately. Michael was out of town. He was in Arizona.
We were spread out everywhere. Her older sister was in Brazil, so Alicia was alone when she got the call that morning from the school, and she went up there.
When I got up there, I introduced myself. You know, hi, I'm Alicia. I had no idea. Bacterial meningitis, I knew nothing about it, except that she had been vaccinated. That's the one thing I knew about it. I couldn't understand how she got it.
We decided to go to visit her in the hospital, thinking that we would go to her bedside and say, Emily, how are you doing? And she'd throw a joke at us or start singing. And we got there and they said that she was unconscious. So we were pretty shaken up, but we kept thinking Emily will snap out of this any second. And, you know, she'll laugh about it with us within the next day.
I never thought it was going to be anything like this.
So when I got to the airport, Alicia had just more or less got to the hospital, kind of situated, and the doctors wanted to have a meeting with her.
Well, the first thing that happened is when the nurse came in, and she says, do you want me to call clergy? And I called Michael back, and I said, this is worse than we thought this was. This is really bad. I think that was the first time I realized how bad it really was.
There were many hopes for her to come back and many things that they said would work, and they didn't.
And they just kept saying she's really, really sick. She's really, really sick. That's how they put it to you when your child is going to die, so that you start to get used to the idea. They don't say she could die. They say she's really, really sick.
All of our friends were there, so we kept saying to each other, you know, she's going to be fine. She's going to snap out of this. It's going to be our Emily when she comes out. And slowly we figured out that things were not going to be the same. That she wasn't going to be our Emily anymore. But I could deal with that. I was thinking to myself, whatever. She's still my friend, and doesn't matter if maybe she has a stutter or something. Because she's still going to be my Emily. She's still going to think the same way and be silly with me. And then finally, after 2 days in the hospital, the doctor tells us that she's lost brain activity completely. And so we figured out that it wasn't going to be our Emily that came out at all. Because she'd never talk again. She'd never speak to us or laugh or sing.
When they kept saying it, I said to the doctor, what do I do about Carly? How do I get Carly home? It was a hard decision because I still felt like she was going to get better. I still felt like she could, like this can't happen. This is my daughter. This cannot happen. This happens to other people. And I knew that if I said, Carly needs to come home from Brazil, I was acknowledging that I knew she was going to die. So that was very hard. But the doctors kept saying she's very, very sick. Saturday afternoon, they said it hasn't gone down, and we're afraid that there hasn't been any brain activity. So they did a final test, and then we heard the words. That's the first time they came right out and said it. Plain English. Your daughter has no brain activity.
Eventually he comes back and he says there's nothing else that we could do. If there's nothing else they could do to help her live. And her poor mom, oh my God. Her poor mother is screaming. She's like, why can't it be me? It's not supposed to happen this way. And she's so right. It's not supposed to happen this way.
And then that night, Carly got there. We went in as a family. The last time the 5 of us were together, we said goodbye.
And so when her parents decided that it was time, they were incredibly gracious and incredibly sweet to us. They let us go back and look at her and say our last goodbyes. And I think that was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done, is just looking at her. Because she's right there. It's her face and her body, but you feel that she's just not. So you can see her face, but it just looks so wrong. And I kept wanting her to just like pop out of it and be like joking. And I just couldn't fathom it.
I remember that weekend being paralyzed, so like nothing, I couldn't do anything, I couldn't think about anything else, I couldn't prep for class. Nothing else seemed to be important. All I could think about was her and her family and what might be going on, and still wanting to believe that I could talk to her and see her again on Monday. And so it wasn't until I think Saturday or Sunday that I got the word that she was gone, and even then it didn't add up, it didn't make sense. And to be honest, I don't think it has even since then. I don't think we had a lot of space to process. It was in the middle of the quarter, so it felt very sudden. And we always say this when we lose people, that it feels like we just saw them, as though that's some reason why they should still be there or still be connected to us. But I've never meant it more strongly than with Emily.
So we went back to campus that night. I don't remember really the next couple of days that happened. A lot of people reached out to me. A lot of people said I'm sorry. And I remember feeling so angry. And I guess I had to get over that first in order to start moving.
And we said, so what happens now? And they said, so Gift of Life is going to come over and talk to you. Michael and I both reacted the same way. Absolutely not. Tell them to stay away. You're not going to take her apart and pass out her organs to other people. Absolutely not. And we sat down and we were crying. We were holding each other. And I didn't know this then. I know I got a shiver on the back of my neck. And I know now that that's Emily, because when she's with me, that's what I get. I feel her. But I didn't know that then. I just knew that all of a sudden I knew we made a terrible decision. We made a mistake. And I said to Michael, oh my God, we just made a horrible mistake. We have to do that. And we signed all the forms that they could take our organs out and give them to whoever needed them. And we have started to meet her recipients, which I find healing, I find helpful. And when I see the lives that have been changed in her recipients, her organ recipients, that is something that's helpful to me.
I feel like the whole campus was kind of a weird atmosphere after that. Like there was this weight that was there that like I felt dampened. But I mean the class especially because she was so involved in that class. I guess it made me realize like how influential she had been on the entire class. And even when we were discussing her, I remember there was someone that said, you know, like, I've never even talked to her outside of class, but like, she was extremely upset. I was like, I miss her. And I feel like she was the kind of person that like, I wanted to be friends with her, you know, like I didn't know her that well, but I would have liked to get to know her better.
I was trained in Atlanta by the National Meningitis Association to become a spokesperson, a mom advocate for them. Learned a lot about meningitis. She was a piece of me. And the most terrifying thing that there is that she'll just be erased, that people won't remember her at some point. So we're creating the Emily Stillman Foundation, which will work to promote meningitis awareness. And maybe there'll come a time where meningitis is gone. And also to work with promoting organ donation. We've learned so much about organ donation. People die every day while they're waiting for a transplant, and there's not enough donors. And that's one field that we really want to work towards as well. And we just want to make sure no one can erase our daughter.
Emily was a beautiful soul inside and out, and she'll always be part of us. You know, she'll always be with us. And you know, our hope and our goal is to make sure that her legacy does live on, and that it does good for for people, because she would have done good.
I think the biggest thing she left was just her strength and her vivacious energy. Whenever I'm down or whenever I'm feeling like I'm not strong enough to get through anything, Emily kind of pulls me through. And I just remember, like, I have to do it for Emily because she's not here to do it herself.
Oh, there's so much you could take from Emily's life. It's hard not to get angry, actually, because I don't want to have to take something from it. I'd rather her be here. but I do feel like she never apologized for who she was. She never tried to downplay who she was. She never tried to be anything aside from who she absolutely was. And that beauty, the beauty and simplicity of that is so amazing. I really take that metaphor with her and her markers and thinking about being sort of the fullness of who you are, and never apologizing, never trying to compromise who you are, because it's not authentic, it's not necessary, and it's not beneficial to anyone, and actually people lose out if they don't see the entirety of who you are. And I think that is absolutely demonstrated in the number of people who have such strong feelings and memories of Emily, because she is, people always say it sounds cliche, but she absolutely impacted every single person I've seen her meet, even people in our class who didn't know her intimately, but who absolutely remember her presence and are impacted by just sitting with her for an hour every couple days. That alone is powerful and testament to who you can be if you are true to yourself.
People will come up and will be like, you know, I'm really sorry, I know I don't want to talk about it, I know you don't want to talk about it. I'm like, actually, I tell them, I do want to talk about it. I want to talk about her. I don't ever want to stop talking about her. You know, it's a terrible thing that happened, and I lost her, but she was part of me for 19 years, and I want to talk about her. I don't ever want to stop talking about her. I don't ever want to stop thinking about her, because, like Alicia said, that would be terrible.
That's terrifying.
For her memory to ever be erased or dulled.
I feel like talking about her helped, and it helps, because I guess what I've heard some people say that, like, when someone dies, you should celebrate their life. And I feel like she made people laugh and smile, and, like, she would want people to laugh and smile. And I feel like when I talk about her, I still sometimes am, like, laughing and telling stories, and, like, or I love hearing other people's stories. And so I feel like that's a good thing, because, like, in that way, like, you're remembering how she impacted you. I know I'm really glad that I knew her.
What's interesting is that I feel like I do feel her presence. It's incredible, and it's not tangible, her presence, but that flash that you get, so there's a very bright light, and there's like the after image that you get, so you kind of still see it, and it's hard to pinpoint and hard to define, but it's there. It feels like that. So it feels like she was so bright and shined so much that there's no way that there wouldn't still be a lasting after image. Oddly enough, I found out that I was pregnant in May, and something about that, one, felt very powerful in that I know she would have been so excited, but it also felt very powerful in that I can only hope that my baby is even a fraction of what Emily was, and I do believe still is. I lost my mother when I was 17, and I do take some solace or pleasure in knowing that they must know each other, that my mom has to know Emily because who couldn't, even in heaven, and that they are both watching over and preparing my son for his arrival, and that I'm looking forward to when he's very young, before he understands life and death, and I get this weird feeling that he'll be able to tell me a little something about Emily, even though he never got a chance to meet her.
I just miss her. I miss her laugh. And I miss doing weird stuff, or when she would catch me doing weird stuff. And we'd both be like, oh, sorry about it. Because she didn't care. She just wanted to laugh with you. And as ugly as it all is, she leaves a wonderful legacy, I guess. I mean, her parents are so involved in meningitis, vaccinations, and organ donating that it's really, it's bittersweet, but it's nice to see that something good has come out of this tragedy. That people are living because of her. And I want to say that ties it all together and that makes it the best, but I'm still angry. And it's still unfathomable, but missing people just goes that way, I guess.
If I had one message beyond meningitis symptoms, organ donation, the most important message of all is to live every single day knowing you might not wake up tomorrow morning and tell every person how you feel about them, so you would not have any regrets either. In our house, nothing went unsaid. Emily never ended a conversation without saying, "I love you," ever. And so I don't have to say to myself, do you think she knew I loved her? Because the answer is yes. She knew how much I loved her, and I knew how much she loved me. So, of course, I want to hear it one more time. I want to hug her one more time. I want to kiss her one more time. But I know she knew how much I loved her.